And you got to have the noise too. You can't do it.
A clap can go anywhere you want it to. It's up to you.
There's no wrong clap.
It's a free podcast. Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast episode. Is it 18? 19. Episode 19.
I hope.
We are your hosts, the Chambers Brothers.
Cheers.
My name is Harold.
I'm David.
And today on the Elk Season Podcast.
Oh, we have lots of interesting things. So Corner Crossings comes up again, something in our recent conversations we've had. Meat Eater from Netflix.
Yeah.
Now, I'm interested in what you have to say here because I've seen it, but I've always just kind of scrolled on by, but I've always been curious. I just haven't clicked on it, so I'm curious to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Bears. Oh, my.
Tis bear season. And I love bears. I find a lot of bear stories. Bear stories find me, but bear stories find the media.
Yeah.
Bears make good stories. So,
wolves.
Wolves also make good stories.
Wolves. There's a land bridge in the stories this week, or in the conservation news.
Yeah.
And we've talked about those. I think land bridges are fascinating.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that they're starting to become more of a reality. Elk culling.
Yeah.
A story that I'm bringing to you. You don't know about.
I don't know
tell you
about that. I haven't
but,
heard this one. Okay.
But I say elk culling to keep it cryptic because it's a follow up from last week's podcast. After that, we have a creature from Mount Boar we saw. We're like, what the heck is that? Like before, we're like, we've never seen this before. It must be a creature from the unknown. We've discovered a new species. Turns out probably not.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. And it was odd. It was like somewhere between a rabbit and a rat.
Yeah.
But wasn't sure what to do with that.
And I came across it in a book, the Steve Ranella book that I'm reading, Meat Eater. And so I just came across it. I go, oh, that's what it's called. And so I Googled a picture of it, and I said, okay, that's for the podcast. We'll make sure to talk about it.
And the creature was not skittish, but it was up at 11,000 feet.
11,000 plus.
11,000 feet. And so that caused us to go curious.
Yeah.
Wow, I had this one listed
can't
twice.
read my handwriting either sometimes. It's okay.
I had it listed twice on my notepad.
Okay.
I have a bullet point for it that was cryptic, and then I listed the name of the creature on the next line. But I can't show you now, but I can show you later. And then don't backpack hunt. Yeah, don't backpack hunt.
Yeah.
I can't read my own writing. So don't backpack hunt, because that's exactly what we're going to do.
5 reasons why you shouldn't backpack hunt. I read that article.
You want to know what I was doing when I was waiting for my kids to get out of school yesterday? I was looking at backpacks because I want to get a new backpack.
Yeah, I'm getting a new one this year.
They're like the one I want, or the one that I was looking at, not the one I want necessarily, but the one I was looking at was like $300. It's a bit pricey. The one I have, I could get a replacement for roughly around the same price. Well, not true, because I paid $45 for my backpack now.
Ooh.
But it's been, that was 2011 terms.
Okay.
That same backpack now is about $89, $90.
Oh, okay. That's a decent pack.
It's a decent pack, but it has some limitations, and I pointed those out last time we went hunting because of the way you access stuff. But anyway, it has nothing to do necessarily with that article, but that's what we have on the podcast today. I guess now it's up to you to have any announcements. If you have any announcements.
I actually learned a valuable new hack watching one of the most dreaded things on YouTube. First of all, let the record state.
Yes, state it for me.
I finished my beer before David.
Right now?
Yeah, it's gone.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
It's the only time you drank today, huh?
We're getting weird. It's the only time you've had a drink before now?
Yes.
Yes, my only drink. I can only get 2. I get one more when I get home.
You know what? I am going, so it's good.
I love you.
Come here. I want to give you a hug.
What was I even talking about now?
Your announcements.
I don't have any announcements. Summer is here. It is 103 days till elk season. 103. Don't skip leg day. Oh yeah. That's all he does is skip leg day.
Because
what's today? Leg day. Skipping it.
Totally. Today, and for the last 7 days, it's been back day. because I've got a bum back, and I've been nursing it, and it is. I was like at 100% what it felt like Sunday morning. I mowed the lawn, and then I went back to 0%, and Monday was horrible, and actually it's gotten better.
Yeah,
in the last couple of hours, and so it's. But at the same time, I will hopefully I'll get back to leg day.
I know. I sometimes my elbows hurt, my hands hurt, my knees hurt, my back hurts, my hip hurts, and every time I'm like, oh, this hurts worse than I'm paying for. I mean, I should not hurt this bad. I always think the same thing. Please not during elk season. Please not during elk season. The reason to work out now. The reason that I lift the heavy weights that I do, the reason I don't skip leg day. And I know a lot of people are like, well, that doesn't really accurately, reflect the amount of, shut up. Listen, I lift correctly. My wife is a CrossFit coach, a very knowledgeable CrossFit coach. She's been doing it for 10 years. She's been to the CrossFit Games as a judge. She tells people, you're not lifting correctly. You're lifting correctly. She tells me all the time. She just stands there with her arms folded. You're doing it wrong.
And that's just you like installing something in the house.
Everything. That's everything. Everything in my life. She's standing by me with her arms folded, ready to judge me. Well, but when your core is strong, you have strong legs, you can lift heavy things. Yes, I can do a big, heavy deadlift. I did a big, heavy overhead squat. I'm not going to be doing 245-pound overhead squats while I'm out during elk season. But because my body can move that way, I'm less likely to be injured just reaching for something. Right? I have the muscular and the skeletal strength to do a variety of different things because I CrossFit. And really, the number one reason I CrossFit is just for elk season. I just got to get through elk season. I've told people, and I tell them even this week, the best shape I'm ever in every year is October 1.
Yeah.
I am ready for elk season October 1st.
I have maintained the same weight that I was when I left October 1 at the end of elk season last year. For the last month, I've been at that weight. I haven't been able to break below it.
That's okay. It's better than wherever we start elk season at.
Wherever. In fact, I had somebody today comment on how thin I look.
Yeah, I can see it.
Based on the last time that I spoke to them. So I'm happy for that, but I also need to get about another 20 down.
103 days is all you have left.
Yeah.
That is 3 months and some change, baby.
And I will say this: Harold's a big fan of CrossFit. That's great. I'm a supporter of CrossFit. I'm not a fan only because I haven't done it, and so I have to call myself out there. But I will say this: whatever it is you need to be in the shape you need to be in to be out and be your best during elk season is what you need to do. CrossFit is a great medium for that. In fact, my understanding of CrossFit, besides having strong connections and family, my perception is that it's meant to sort of keep the body on alert for any muscle group you have so that it's just ready to go at any given point. So that's why CrossFit really does a good job for that. Why I haven't subscribed in, I don't know. Because even the other day, I ran into somebody that's like, I recognize your sister-in-law has the same last name as you. But even though I had to reveal that it was anyway, the whole point is it's a good exercise, but it's whatever it is that you feel you need to do to prepare.
I love the gym, and I am a big, strong dude. I have some of the biggest lifts in the gym. You go to another gym where there's 500 people. I probably don't have that great of lifts, right? But we have 200, 300 people or whatever. And I as for a 50-year-old dude, I hold my own just fine.
You're
just fine.
49. Don't
49.
Sell yourself short. Wait, what?
And the one thing that scares me is my little brother coming to CrossFit. Because it's the same genetics. You see it all the time at CrossFit. You see it all the time. You see families. I've seen a guy who's on the podium at the CrossFit Games. I've seen his 60-year-old dad do a 500-pound deadlift.
Wow.
And you're like, and you just see it run in families. I was standing next to a guy at the I went to a CrossFit competition. I'm standing next to a guy, Derek Fisher. And he ended up winning a competition later that night. But I'm standing next to him. I don't even know it. He is drinking beer.
Nice.
And the guy I'm with goes, is that Derek Fisher? And I go, yeah, that is Gary Fisher. Is he drinking beer? Yeah, he's totally drinking a beer. Doesn't he work out? Doesn't he work out in like an hour? When you compete, just about any way you can get calories, get calories. If the alcohol is gonna wear off by then, you'll be fine. And he was just getting calories, and he performed well. But his sister, Lauren Fisher, won that competition.
Wow. I
got my picture with her. But it shows a very close genetic tie with just physical ability, your ability to move and the strength that you have. Dude, you're a big, strong dude. And the rower, I kill on the rower. I row like a galley slave. Okay.
Ouch.
Oh yeah. Galley slaves are looking at me and go,
drum.
Your job's easy. Right? When I do it, I make it look easy. And I swear, my brother's a half a foot taller than me. If he gets on the rower, I'm sunk. I'm just saying, start rowing, bro. I've read some other books on the life of a galley slave, and you're right. It is a disgusting, horrible, terrible thing. If you thought being any kind of a slave was bad, a galley slave was at the bottom of that list.
I just watched the series on Netflix, Roman Empire.
Yeah,
it's like Game of Thrones meets a documentary meets Roman Empire.
Okay.
So it's like it's acted, but it's also
narrated. Yeah.
It's actually really good.
Okay.
But it's not safe for children, but it's not bad either.
So I'm a good rower. I have, I'm a big, powerful guy. I guess we can stop talking about that. There's a wait. Tell me more about how big and strong you are, big fella.
But are you powerful? Big and strong is one thing, but powerful. It's kind of like knowledge and understanding, two different things.
I'll tell you what.
Big and powerful, two different things.
My CrossFit total's 4 digits. What you know about that? That's right. Nobody, because nobody cares. Unless you CrossFit, nobody cares. Your CrossFit total is your strict press and your deadlift and your back squat.
Let me remind everybody of what we're talking about. Get in shape. Be healthy. Be at your best, because the last thing you want to be is stranded because of a preventable injury.
Don't skip leg day. I say it.
In fact, that's got to be a T-shirt. Elk season. Don't skip leg day.
Don't skip leg day, son. Man, you want to get out there. I know, and I talk to other people. Hey, we've been in there. We've gone in there with horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, horses are great. They're a lot of work, though.
Look. If you thought you shouldn't skip leg day when you're hiking, don't skip leg day when you're horsing.
Yeah.
Because you have to use your legs to stay on the horse.
Yeah.
It's an exercise in its own.
It's so much. I remember watching an episode of Les Stroud, Survivor Man, where he goes in with a couple of horses.
Yeah.
And I'm like, horses?
Yeah, I remember that episode.
Oh, you'll have it easy.
No.
But he talked about how much work it is just making sure you have everything done for the horses.
Yeah.
And you go into the backcountry. I don't even want to filter water on a regular basis, right? I have my filter system. Yep. I'm like, I basically want running water when I'm there.
Simplify the process.
And because all I want to do is be hunting. On the other side of that coin, there comes moments where, because I've been meaning to talk to you about this, because you're just so adverse to a good nap.
Hold on. I've updated my data set recently.
Okay.
I'm not adverse to a good nap unless it has, well, hold on. Napping is sort of against the rules in general.
Okay.
Except.
For humans?
For humans.
Okay.
Except for, there's going to be
Is this historically speaking, or is this how the brain works, or what's the context?
Well, we have a circadian rhythm, right? The circadian rhythm is a 24-hour cycle. We have our deepest down spot between, sundown and sunup. That's when we typically sleep.
Right.
But we have a dip in the early afternoon
siesta,
where we go down. So a siesta isn't bad, but it needs to stay small. You shouldn't be sleeping for hours on end.
Right.
But it shouldn't be a regular occurrence either, because it'll start pulling away from the nighttime sleep that you need.
Yes. Okay.
Right. So I'm not adverse to naps. In fact, I've been napping a lot the last week because I have an injury, and that's the caveat. When you're recovering from a surgery, recovering from an injury, naps are actually very useful in helping you. So I've napped a couple of times, if not maybe 3 or 4 times in the last week.
Well, let's say
because of my back.
Let's say just for fun, I'm trying to recover from a particularly nasty hike.
I knew you were going to go there. And what I'm going to say is, I get it now, and it makes sense that if your body is
on you,
well, no, I feel picked on. But the point is, no, but I've maybe been a little bit more harsher than I needed to be in the past. But I think it also has to do with age and.
Well, you had me second guessing myself. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be taking naps. I'm lazy. I should be hunting. But hard work needs good recovery.
Correct. Now, the whole only thing is, I think it was an age difference and the experiences I had when I was really against the napping. And I'm still not a big fan of napping up there, but
I'm not napping. I'm into restful time.
But
I do fall asleep.
I have had so many good encounters with elk during the time that you'd be napping. That's what frustrated me, but I didn't know how to articulate that.
Okay.
Because I mean, my first 2 seasons up where we hunt, my best opportunities came at those times of the day.
Yeah.
The first 2 days I hunted up there, literally opening day and the second to opening day happened in the hours that you would be napping when I brought you up there. And this following year, same opening day. And so the elk are moving all over the place. And if there's good habitat, if there's good water, if it's been a good year, then you're going to see a lot more activity. So I think what was frustrating for me, it wasn't you. There was nothing wrong with what you were doing. There was everything wrong with me with understanding what you needed versus what I was experiencing.
Yeah.
And so it was not meant to be ill will.
Oh, I know.
But
I know.
But in the regard of, look, if I've been hiking my tail off, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Let my body rest because I have a book called The Healing Power of Sleep. Now, it typically talks about the sleep you get at night, but I went to a sleep training 2 months ago.
On your mark, get set. Just kidding.
Sleep.
You're not sleeping right. Sleep harder.
But no, it reinforced the idea. And I knew naps aren't a complete no, but she gave me, the sleep specialist from Colorado, gave me the understanding of what it is that makes napping useful and how, at least in part. So there's probably more to it than this, but that's what her PhD is in the psychology of sleep, and particularly with postpartum sleep issues, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So in the past couple of years, I have needed that rest to continue.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm really wiped out. I haven't been taking care of myself. I haven't been in good shape. And that's what I needed. I feel like that's what I needed. So I think in previous years, I don't think I really napped, or I like to take some time in the afternoon. I do like a siesta. I do like to take time for a big meal, a big hot meal, not freeze-dried pouch.
With hot water.
You know me and my quesadillas and Gatorade or hot cocoa or something. But a nice big meal, and then just sit back and digest that for an hour or so, maybe 2, and get some good rest, because I know I'm going to need it. We should have walked all the way over to the backyard that day.
Right.
We should have every day.
So that's where my thought process went just now. It's like, yes, we've been hiking, but would it be wise to take your nap after you've put yourself in a position where you know elk are more likely to be
right
by the time you wake up from that nap?
Right. And we did that. We did that up there in that saddle off the ripper. But then we got impatient. I just felt like, maybe we should be hiking. Maybe we should be moving. Let's start moving. And we moved into some area that we had never been. And I'm glad we did. Didn't see a lot of sign. Got that cool upside down mushroom.
Oh, that's right.
When we did that.
That's right. I forgot about that. That was.
Send me a pic of that.
And that horrible, if I have to remember.
Yeah.
That horrible.
Freeze dried.
It wasn't freeze dried. It was like this
chemical
weird
cook.
Chemical cook
it's a
from Walmart.
Chemical cooked pizza.
Oh,
you get some hydrogen or some sodium hydroxide and water. Put them together, creates heat, and melts cheese. I don't know if I'd call it cheese, but
I don't think anything cooked. I don't think anything melted. In fact, nothing was warm. It was just so kind of cool to watch the steam come out of the bag. We're like, hey, look, it must be getting hot. It must be done now.
Hydrogen gas. We could have lit it on fire. We got to make a bomb with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, good times.
Ooh, I wonder if it would shoot out like a little flame from like a lighter if you did that. Or would it just blow up?
Please don't try. Don't try this at home. Please don't.
I know, especially in a place where it was drought ridden and everything was dry. So
I'm just goofing. We'll talk more about food. We're not talking about food today. We got to get to some issues. We're 20 minutes in already, and I don't think I've said anything.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole idea, though, to sum up what we've just been talking about, be in shape and have good food and nap in the appropriately.
You're right.
Nap appropriately.
You're right. That is the trifecta of a good elk season. Be in shape, know how to be well rested and well nourished.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sleep, diet, exercise.
You want to have a good elk season, sleep, diet, exercise. So yeah, I don't mind. You're right.
I will not be known as a renowned psychologist, but I will possibly be known as the instructor who taught very emphatically about the importance of sleep, diet, and exercise, and its ability to impact your cognitive processes intentionally. Yeah. That is one of the things I focus on a lot in my classes. Anyway,
good sleep is important. So can you take a minute? I don't think we've talked about sleep like a dolphin. Because I asked you, because we've talked about it. Yeah. You never really fully sleep great when you're backpacking, when you're hunting, when you're at camp. Yeah. And so it kind of sucks because you don't feel like you got enough restful sleep.
Yeah. So this is going to maybe even include a trail tale for me.
I like it. Yeah.
So here's the thing. So I can't remember the article title or authors, but so call me out on that if you will. But there was an article, I think in 2016 or 17, that looked at how dolphins sleep. And so dolphins sleep in their brains. Half of their brain goes to sleep so that half of their brain can be awake. And if you think about an aquatic creature with the predators and the things
aquatic mammal.
Did I say, what did I say?
You said aquatic animal.
A creature,
But it's not just a creature. It's a mammal. It breathes air.
Yeah, right, mammal. So it sleeps with half its brain on because it needs to be on alert. And so what does that have to do with humans? Well, we don't live in the water, but we do live in situations where we move from comfort to discomfort. And when we're in a situation of discomfort, our brain is supposedly doing the same thing as a dolphin. So we're half awake, half asleep. Or when I say, don't get too many crazy visualizations in mind. The idea is just that your brain doesn't go fully to sleep, which makes sense. You need to be on alert. You're in a new place, so it's a survival mechanism that's come down through the adaptation of our species, and so we need to be on alert. And this happens when if you're a traveling salesman, if you drive a truck, if you're going from place to place, your brain can't get to the full rested sleep because it's always sort of stressed because of the novelty of what you're doing. Now, if you do this for a long time and you go to the same stops all the time, it's going to adjust to that.
What about a hotel room? Because the hotel rooms they're all the same. It just almost doesn't matter where you stay.
But you're in a new town.
Yeah.
So it's the novelty of the place, not the hotel.
So I was just thinking, sometimes I wake up and just like in a hotel, and sometimes like, where am I?
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen when I'm hunting.
Yeah.
I never wake up and go, where am I again? What day is it?
Right.
But it does happen in a hotel. To me.
So, but the idea of a like my understanding, I don't have the stats for you, but like traveling business people tend to have higher rates of sleep disorders.
Oh, okay.
Is my recollection of those studies.
Okay.
So when you spend all year not going to the mountains and you finally get there, because that tends to be I don't get out camping the way I want to. Money, finances, gas. It's all a bit steep, and to get there. So majority of my camping and outdoors activities happen in September. And so it's not uncommon for me to go to the mountains, get in my tent, and have a really hard time sleeping that first night. And that's not uncommon for a lot of people. It's not, we tend to chalk it up to, hey, I'm really excited to be here. This is really cool. It's not, but really it's in part the excitement, but in part I'm also in a new place. So my brain has to adjust.
Yeah. Every first night in elk season feels like Christmas Eve when I'm 7.
Yeah.
Everyone, man.
So
it's hard to sleep.
So I think it was the second or third year you and I go to the place we go.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sleep that whole night. I kept waking up like, I'm like, is there time to go? Can we go hiking now? So I'm like ready to go.
It's not the only time you've done that.
And so when you talk about, but this one was memorable to me. Yeah. We were out and we didn't see anything all morning rather. It's 11:30 and we saw a spike, a raghorn, and a cow.
Yeah.
And we set up and we called for it. And I sat down against the tree, and this story's been on the podcast before.
Yeah. They came right to us.
And I decided to nap. Unintentionally. I had an arrow knocked, but I fell asleep. I was leaning up against this tree. I was on my butt. Yeah. And 20 yards.
Oh, they came right to us.
20. It's heartbreaking.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. I was embarrassed. I was sad. I was a little depressed because I had to tell you I fell asleep. And anyway, but it had to do with that night's rest because it was the first day of that season, and it had to do with my adjustment to sleeping up there.
Would I do myself a favor sleeping in my tent occasionally to become more familiar with it, or because I'm not in the woods, I'm not in where I hunt?
You have conscious and unconscious mapping in your brain.
Okay.
And so your conscious mapping is what you see, like your tent, right? So that can help.
Okay.
But your unconscious mapping is all the other details that your tent could help trigger that response. Possibly you could train yourself that way. But the unconscious things that are going around. So you're consciously trying to use your tent to trigger the response of I'm adjusting.
Right. Okay.
Well, unconsciously because you went from your backyard to the mountains. Unconsciously, you're still taking note of that, and your brain's going, "Hey, I'm in a different place." So it's not something that's as aware to you.
Okay.
So
interesting.
But I haven't done studies on it. I'm just speaking from I feel well-positioned educational standpoint to say this is what's likely going on. So I'll just caveat that.
As September rolls in, and it felt like elk season this morning. I don't know. Did you get out, walk out of the house today?
I've been out a couple times. Yeah.
There's when winter is ushering out, and summer's coming in, or summer's going out and winter's coming in.
Yeah.
It's just that time, and it's windy. Yeah. It was just a little bit cool this morning. The wind's at 30 miles an hour right now. It's disgusting. And it's been cold.
Thanks, Idaho.
And but just morning,
I got to cover up all my plants in the garden.
Just walking out to my truck, I just go, "Oh, it feels good."
Yeah, I think for me, what really gets me on that, and I mentioned this a couple podcasts ago, it was raining here recently, but it was sprinkling in just a way where it was chilly, but it wasn't cold, but the rain was just hitting right, and it wasn't, and I was just like, this takes me to so many moments when I've been in the woods where the rain has come down through the canopy of the trees, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just want to be in the mountains.
103 days is all we have left until elk season.
Don't skip leg day.
Don't skip it. All right.
Let's talk about conservation.
There's some good nutrition and sleep, and what was the other pillar?
Exercise. Sleep, diet, exercise.
Exercise, nutrition. Yeah, that's right.
Sleep, diet, exercise.
So we're good. Oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you about this. I know. I learned how to make pemmican.
Pemmican.
Yeah. Oh, it's so great. I talk about food all the time. Pemmican is how some Native Americans would prep food for winter storage.
Okay.
And for travel.
Yeah.
And for travel.
Right. Okay.
And basically, I follow this guy, Jim Baird. He's got a brother too, I think Ken or Tim. Anyways, but he's an adventurer.
Probably Tim.
He lives, and they go up in Canada, and they do some crazy stuff. This guy goes out for 14 days solo with a canoe, batteries, cameras. I can't imagine. This guy gets so many shots of him approaching his own camera. I'm like, you just hiked that twice. You know that. And it looks tough the second time he hikes it. Anyways, I really like it. So what he did was he rendered some fat. Okay, you render some fat down to where it's liquid fat, and you put that aside in a jar. Then you take bison. I know, we call it bison. He's from Canada. He called it bison. He took some bison meat.
Is it spelled with a Z?
And some moose meat.
I'm sorry, is it spelled with a Z?
Is it Boise or Boise?
Is Boise spelled with a Z?
Is it? So
that's what I thought.
So they take jerky and they ultra dry it, and they grind it into a flour. I don't even want to say powder. It's a flour. It's so light. Then they take berries. So he'll take some bison meat or he'll take some moose meat. Then they'll take some different berries, like, well, let's take some choke cherries. Let's take some blackberries. Let's take something. And they dry that completely dry and powder it to a flour, then it's equal parts of all three. So you take a half a cup of dried meat, a half a cup of dried vegetable powder, and a half a cup of lard or rendered fat, and you work that all in together. There you have your three food groups. You have fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. And it's this perfect. Anyways, I thought it was really cool. It took a lot of work. Maybe someday, if I ever kill anything, I'll make some gopher pemmican. Anyways, I saw how to make pemmican.
I was just thinking that same thing.
that's all I got. It's called porcupine pemmican. It's a nice alliteration, don't
Delicious.
You think? So, anyways, I watched a video on how to make pemmican this week. And not that I'll ever make it, but I'm excited I know how. Okay.
I'm kind of curious of what it would taste like.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah,
could I make bread out of it?
I'm a big fan. I'm not a fan. I'm a student of food and history.
Yeah.
Of how did they do it? Right? You know, the Mongols, they drank blood from their horses, and Italian soldiers, I think it was Italian, maybe biscotti. Everybody calls it biscotti, right? But it's French or Italian. It means baked twice.
Yeah.
And they would bake the water out of it so they could travel with it. It's not.
I was just watching a YouTube series earlier today. It's called 16th Century Cooker by Townsend and Son. Anyway, he's a really cool guy. I've watched him for a while, and he finds these old cookbooks from like 1700s, 1800s.
Oh, wow.
And he tries to replicate the cooking, and it's so like, there's days like, take a spoon of this. And it's like, well, what's the quantity of the spoon? Right? Take a spoonful of this and put it into. And so he was doing salted pork, which is a way to take pork. So compared to beef, and he talked about beef being, if you make salted beef, it turns into basically hardwood. And nobody really liked it as much. Salted pork would stay soft, and you could work with it much easier. But salted beef would turn into such a hard substance that you even if you soaked it for hours, it would still be really chewy and hard to consume. But salted pork, so he was doing a salted pork based on this recipe from like 1817 or something like that. So, and it's just a kind of a fun channel.
Well, that's what hardtack was, right? Just salted pork.
Yeah.
Just good luck.
Yeah.
Here's some hardtack and biscuits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's cool to come across those kinds of things and to see what people would do. But the recipes, as you go back in time, they're like, and he'll say that on his channel all the time. It's like, right here, the recipe person says this, but we don't know what that means. So we're going to guess here. And so,
and there's so much more available. I'm not a cook. I don't spend a lot of time in my kitchen inventing stuff, doing new stuff, following recipes. I don't. I eat the same stupid crap all year long. You and your wife, you guys explore culinary delights.
Yeah, we do.
I don't know anything. I still don't eat freeze-dried pouches. Still. Don't eat that.
Yeah, so I've explored freeze-dried pouches.
Yeah, so have I.
Ugh.
Yeah. And the jury's back, and it was unanimous.
It was, in fact, some juries quit.
Yeah, it's not good.
They're like, we can't even talk about this. This is traumatizing.
So more food talk to come. All right.
All right. Let's go to corner crossing. And I love the image on this because it looks like what we've talked about and described. So corner crossing, we wanted to quantify the issue of corner crossing. So we dove into it. And I actually had a thought about corner crossing.
Yeah.
But you spill the beans on this and let me.
So I read this article. Onyx. It's a very big issue. Onyx has done a bunch of research. 8.3 million acres in 11 Western states are inaccessible because of corner crossing.
Yeah, it's
just the corners. I'm not talking about doesn't have a road to it. I'm talking about all four sides of this land are private and all four corners are public, and you cannot access it. So my first feeling was like this corner crossing case out of Wyoming. And Wyoming,
right.
Actually, what's funny is Idaho has the least number of corner crossings in it.
I'm a fan. Idaho.
Wyoming has the most.
Wyoming, get it.
We have like 57,000 corner crossings. Wyoming has 2.5 million.
Jeez.
So it's a big deal for Wyoming.
Yeah.
And you get that cleared in Wyoming. Here's the problem. I told you we talked last time about the corner crossing issue, how it was thrown out.
Yeah.
There was no decision.
Yeah.
So it's still up in the air. We still don't know where this is going to land. But this article talked about the Fifth Amendment.
Okay.
In the Fifth Amendment, it says your property cannot be encroached upon without just compensation.
Huh.
I'm not. This isn't a law. This isn't a lawsuit. This is the Constitution. This is a big deal. Knowing which way this goes, because right, the Federal Aviation Administration. I've flown drones for a long time. I used to be 107 certified. I'm not anymore. I understand some of the laws, but the laws are always changing. So since I'm not 100% up on it, those are my qualifications. But if I fly a drone in your front yard, that's not your private property, right? That's Federal Aviation airspace. Okay. I have permission from the Federal Aviation, but there's a line there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where is that line?
That's what I
right.
When I said I had a thought about this, I was thinking about those lines.
Yeah, and they mentioned drones in this article.
Yeah. And I wasn't even thinking about drones.
Yeah, they're saying this is how they keep drones from hovering over any one particular person's home. Is this law? Is like this Fifth Amendment issue. So nothing has been pushed far enough to say a precedent has been set for corner crossing, which is unfortunate because we need to know one way or the other.
So I'm going to give you my thought,
okay.
and it's more fodder than I think it is reality, but it's food for thought. And then the elk culling article that I talked about, I think fits into this. So I'm actually going to pull this up to this conversation. So my thought it falls along these lines. Like, I can't encroach your airspace. I technically didn't touch your property with my physical body, but I encroached your airspace, and that's what I got sued for.
Yeah.
So does that mean I can't even talk to my friend who's waiting for me on the side because we both got to our corners legally, but I can't talk to him because now my vocals are sending airwaves across this corner, which technically is the same idea.
Okay. Actually, that's a First Amendment issue.
Free speech.
Sorry, the first one trumps the fifth one.
So,
but yeah, that's an interesting
maybe
idea.
there is precedent.
Yeah.
Precedent. Sorry, president. That wasn't the right song. Okay. So
anyway, the corner crossing issue is big. I think more sportsmen should be paying attention to it because the more sportsmen that are paying attention to it, as things come to a head, and they will.
Right.
One side's going to need to know how much muscle is backing them.
Yeah.
And they need to know that there are millions of us that want access to that public land.
Now, this is where I have to segue.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if corner crossings plays into this, but I'm sure it has a part.
Okay.
In Montana, the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, which is every state's
department. Sure.
Department. Montana property owners have filed a lawsuit to force the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks to remove, harvest, or eliminate thousands of elk because the elk go onto their private property and cause damage, and they're trying to do all their other stuff.
Oh.
And there's too many elk on the private property.
Right. Yeah.
So this
in Montana.
Really? So I'll send you the. I took a screenshot.
Awesome. Good.
But Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks has been sued by private landowners to tell the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks to get their act together to cull these elk because it's causing problems on their land.
Okay. Well, I know which way I'd like that to go. Or at least I know which way I think I'd like that to go.
And here's where my thought went. And I don't know if this is where you're at, but I'm like, allow hunters to access.
Yeah. That's one.
Access, yes.
Yeah. That's one. Why not? Why not? Why not?
Because it's mine.
They want the elk gone. They'll probably benefit financially if the elk are not on their property, right?
That's what they're saying.
The Fish, Wildlife, and Parks could benefit financially by selling a few more tags for private land culling.
Yes.
Let's just make some money, guys.
So
we need money for conservation. Fish, Wildlife, Parks need money. You want the elk coffee? It's not it doesn't seem like a complicated solution to me. So,
but again,
it's a complicated issue.
In today's world, when we live in what's called a bunch of, how do I say this?
Some folks,
I would say that it's touted by certain scientists that we live in what's called a post-truth world.
Yeah, I've heard
where
that. Yeah.
Emotions are overruling logical or non-emotional decision making.
Yeah,
and so we get emotional about what we have, and when we get emotional, we don't think right. It physically changes how our brain fires when we're over emotional in making a decision.
I saw a TikTok hack on it. I used it on my 5-year-old.
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah, it's sort of distracting. Yeah.
I saw this guy on TikTok. He's like, when your kid's just throwing a 5 alarm, he's using the emotional part of his brain. You got to engage a different part of his brain and ask him some logical questions. He knows the answer to a lot of logical things.
Yeah.
Right? He's 5. I always give him 5 chicken nuggets. Hey, buddy, how many chicken? I mean, he is hitting himself and crying. But I ask him, hey, how many chicken nuggets do I give you? 5. He just calms right down.
Yeah.
And so I start asking him other questions about food. I get around to what color his milk is. And he goes, it's white, like this. And he points to my beard. Anyway, it worked wonders because he forgot what he was even throwing a fit about.
Yeah.
And he just turned right around and he's like, okay, let's get dressed. Let's get dressed for the day. Anyway.
What you said until, though.
Yeah, until he pointed out how old I am. And I have a white beard.
And then you got emotional. I got it.
And then I'm emotional. Then I said, I'm sorry, what? I couldn't hear you. Speaking to my good ear.
Brother to brother here. We've had these moments with our children.
Yeah.
My 11-year-old, when he was 6, he looked at me and said, Dad, I'm so sad. I go, you're so sad? How come you're so sad, buddy? He goes, because your hair, it's so gray. You're so old. Like, he described why I was old. And you know what I said? You can go to your room. And he's been there ever since. But I digress.
I give him a bucket of fish heads every Friday. I don't know what he's complaining about.
They're salted.
I have an autistic child, right?
I do.
And yeah,
I know.
I have an autistic child, and she's 20 now. But back when she was 15,
crazy.
I remember when she was
3.
We had a new baby when she turned 15.
Wow.
Or maybe it was 16 or something. But anyways, she was 15 when we found out Mom was pregnant. Right? But she likes old Western novels.
Yeah. I did know that.
She thought for sure Mom was going to die.
Oh, no.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
That's what happens in Western novels. Woman gets pregnant, birth. So technically, and I had this conversation with my wife today, technically, every pregnancy is life-threatening to the mother.
Yeah, technically.
If you find the right doctor. I know it's a complicated issue, man. I do not want to go there.
200 years ago, I'd have been widowed with my first child, and I would be fatherless, husbandless, wifeless. I mean, husband.
I'd have been, I'd have had to give him to sell him to an orphanage or something.
I'm just gonna say hashtag science.
My oldest turned 28 this week.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, on Sunday.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah, little tiger.
I have a picture of him and I sitting when I was in high school.
Yeah?
I think I was a sophomore in high school, sitting on a couch in Helena.
Yeah?
And he's all of like 3 or 4, and just we're sitting next to each other. And I'm like half the size I am now. And he's a quarter of the size he is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good time. Good time. The pictures are hiding behind there.
Anyway, we are... Where are we now?
We were getting out of the corner crossing stuff, and we got a little sidetracked.
So the corner crossing stuff is important. Is there a market? Because these sections are huge. It's not just the railroads, right? The Homestead Act. Do you remember? Are you familiar with the Homestead Act?
Day, yeah.
When you put on a Homestead Act, you remember the line on your quarter section? They came in sections, and they came in quarter sections. The quarter section was like 604. A section was 640 acres.
Yeah.
So that's what that square mile is like 640 acres or something. And so that's what those tracks were blocked out for. So some of those private tracks were, hey, legitimate people following the Homestead Act. And what was the Homestead Act? Was that 1865.
I
think it was right. That was one of the Lincoln's things.
It was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
It was one of Lincoln's things. Anyway. So a lot of them were for the Homestead Act. I was unfairly mean to the railroads, thinking the railroads took all the land, but really there was a lot of people that did the Homestead Act. So
let's talk about bears.
All right. So, is this the Steve Rinella thing? Is this the number 2 part? You said you were going to use your notebook.
Oh, you're right. This is not the number 2 thing. Let's not talk about bears. Let's talk about we'll talk about something that segues nicely in the bears, and this is Meat Eaters.
Close Calls.
A series.
Yeah. So Meat Eater is a series. I think Steve Rinella is the host of Meat Eater. Lots of people know who he is. Really, really popular. Been on Joe Rogan a few times, and he just loves the outdoors. He'll go to Louisiana and hunt, alligators. He'll go anywhere and hunt whatever it is, and then eat what he kills. But he spends a lot of time in Alaska, and knows a lot of people from the north, from Canada, and from the Rocky Mountains, and really from all over. But he compiled a series of campfire close call stories.
Oh yeah,
and the close call stories were, the one with the critter from Mount Bora.
Yeah,
she was hiking up near Ketchum when she fell. She was alone and she fell, and she was calling 911 for like hours.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You just went on 2 different roads for me. I need you to back up for a second.
Okay.
Hold on. You said something about Mount Bora, then you said some lady in Haley?
Yeah.
I don't track.
So there was a close call story in this book I'm reading.
When you say, help me understand what you mean by, what does it mean to have a close call? You said a close call story with a creature like what we had on Mount Bora?
It's a close call story
where somebody almost dies,
where you don't die. If you get to tell the story, that's a close call.
I feel like I need more definition though. Okay. Is there life-threatening circumstances?
Sometimes.
So just a close call.
What's your closest call? If I asked you right now, we're sitting around a campfire, what's your closest call?
Almost stepping on a bear at 20 yards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you my closest call story right now. It happened with Slim. We were out in Townsend. We're like 19 years old. We're like, what are you doing now? Let's go to Townsend. It's like 40 miles away, but it is really close to the headwaters of the Missouri River. It's past the first real big dam. So we want to go up to the Missouri River, and we find a place, and right there between Townsend and Tauston, the road sort of parallels the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
And so we go across the railroad tracks, and we go up to a campsite along the Missouri River, and we're goofing around, throwing rocks and sticks. We're 19. Yeah. What do we care? But we found a turtle. And we're like, oh, man, a turtle. And I caught lots of turtles. It was a painted turtle. And so I go, grab it. I know how to catch a turtle. So we catch a turtle. We go back and put it in the car. We're going to go to his aunt's house. His aunt lives in Townsend. And we're going to go to his aunt's house, and she likes animals. I mean, that's as far as we thought ahead. We had nothing. So we put the turtle in the back seat, of Slim's Volkswagen Rabbit.
Yeah, I remember that thing. I remember when it died, but keep going.
And the turtle's in the back seat, and we pull up to the railroad tracks, and we stop right on the railroad tracks because there's a little hump there, and there's no train coming. We pull up on this hump, and as we do that, this turtle slides off the back seat, and now he's under our seats, and we're freaking out. We're like, there's a turtle. He's going to bite our Achilles off. I don't know.
Way to go, Achilles.
We haven't advanced.
You're
much
done.
Since then.
This is it. The
end.
I'm
like, oh my gosh, dude! What? Just you know what? We can't do anything about it. We're sitting on the railroad tracks. Just pull the extra 15 yards forward to the stop sign, and we'll get out and we'll investigate this turtle. So we pull up to the stop sign and we get out, and there is a train on the tracks, 100 miles an hour. There's a train there. I didn't see it coming from any direction. I didn't know it was there, but seconds ago, we never would have seen it. We never would have seen it. That's the closest call.
Okay. So stories like that. So I apologize. The way that it was going, I somehow got lost. I was trying to track, and somewhere I got distracted. So I think that provides clarification.
The close call that gave me the insight to what our creature was on Mount Bora came from a story of a girl who fell while hiking outside of Ketchum.
Okay.
And she was going up the Devil's Bedstead or something. I guess it's over there. There's 2 different routes up. She chose one, and it was started to snow, and it was slippery. Anyways, whatever. She fell, and it was a big story. I'm sure it was in the newspapers down here, and
Right.
and she's an experienced. She's an EMT. She knows what she's doing. She told her friends where she was going. She followed every rule. She even had one of those Mylar film bags that her brother gave her. It's either for extreme hot or extreme cold.
Yeah.
But you use that thing, and she had to use it. So she was well prepared and still almost died. But the most horrible story, it's like the second or third story in this book. It was about can't think of the right name.
But apparently it was a comedy.
No, it was so frightening. It was about hypothermia.
Yeah.
A guy thinking he's up, in like Hudson's Bay area, like big cold water.
Yeah.
And there's this big bay, and he's like, well, maybe the boat drifted away, maybe I can get across. And the way he describes feeling, even dying and seeing his own obituary while underwater.
Yeah.
Coming out of it and still having to travel a mile through thick, no trail, and he's shirtless, and it's blowing sleet, and his brain is shutting down. It was so scary because it's not just, well, I had this moment where I almost died. He has a string of moments where he should have died. I mean, just a long string. It was terrible. And the feeling of being cold. He talks about the first stage of hypothermia is just shivering. As he's warming back up, he starts to shiver again. Yeah. And he realizes, oh, good. I'm finally shivering again. I'm back down to the first stage because he's finally warming up.
I'm getting cold thinking about this.
It was.
Can I grab my sweater?
It was awful. It was just an awful, awful close call. But it's Campfire Stories. It's on my phone. I'll throw up a picture of it if you want to read it.
That's crazy.
It's really good. And we talk often about the dangers, and they have plenty of bear stories that are close calls, and some that are, if it wasn't so life threatening, it'd be comical.
Yeah.
But hypothermia and dehydration are really the greatest threats to any outdoorsman.
And close third, don't skip leg day.
Leg day. Leg day will get you, boy.
Now we can go to
all right,
some bear country.
Please continue, yeah.
Idaho Fish and Game, or should I say Montana's Idaho Fish, Wildlife and Parks in the Magic Valley, says that they're going to have a grizzly bear biologist speak in Haley.
Yeah.
Which is not in the Magic Valley, but it's close enough.
It's the Wood River Valley, and they need to tell the Magic Valley because nobody really lives in the Wood River Valley. I mean, rich people and their servants.
Oh, ouch. You're
going
to have to, never mind.
What? You think rich people from Sun Valley or from that area are going to listen to this podcast?
Just look at it.
Maybe their servants will.
Just look at it. I just got to take a podcast like this and I got to look at it.
The Grizzly expansion is happening.
Yeah.
There's going to be grizzlies here, and sooner rather than later.
We talked to somebody in the field one time. It's like, well, they're not here yet.
Right.
I don't know if it's you or if the person we were talking to, but somebody said that while we were out in the middle of
I
summer.
joke all the time on elk season that elk or grizzly bears, we live in the land of the grizzly bears and the wolves, and we're brave and we're tough. There are no grizzly bears where I hunt elk. And I am glad.
Yeah, me too.
Because
we've seen bears and they haven't been grizzlies, and that's what I'm glad for.
Yeah, I used to pack a gun. I used to pack pepper spray. I used to pack a gun and pepper spray, and now I don't carry either. But when bears come back, I'll probably have to, and we won't know they're back until it's probably too late.
Well, anyway, moving on.
Hold on a second. We talked about there's a couple of really important issues regarding grizzly bear expansion because of wolves. I know I've talked to you about how a grizzly bear takes over a wolf kill. Right?
Yep.
A grizzly bear will come in and say, well,
mine.
Thanks guys, but now this is mine. But yet you can still see footage of wolf packs chasing bears away.
Yeah.
Right? So what side does it lay on? Are the wolves actually helping grizzly bears recover because they're killing so many elk? The wolves can only carry so much. They gorge themselves and they move on. And then grizzly bears or other creatures come along. In this book, Decade of the Wolf. Yeah. There are some wolf packs being practically tracked by 4 or 5 different grizzly bears. Every time they make a kill, grizzly bears are on it. Every time. Not one. Multiple grizzly bears. A couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we talked about how grizzly bears were coming out of the Bob Marshall and getting towards Great Falls. Yeah. I misspoke. I was wrong. Okay. They are further from Great Falls than Great Falls is from the Bob Marshall. They are that far east.
Wow.
They are that far east.
Jeez.
Hundreds of miles. 300-400 miles maybe from the Bob Marshall Wilderness. There are grizzly bears, and wolves are to thank.
Wow.
I believe very much wolves are to thank. So, if I may extrapolate this to Colorado.
Please do.
And Utah.
Yeah.
In my lifetime, there will be grizzly bears returned naturally to Utah and Colorado because wolves bring down so many elk. Elk are such a great food source for grizzly bears. Yeah. Wyoming is really close to Colorado. Colorado has lots of elk and mountains. And the grizzly bears are going to come back.
And Montana ranchers, wolves can help you out with your elk problem. Anyway,
True, and that can help. That can help a lot with elk understanding. I know we talked about this last week, but
I was being a bit facetious there. But
okay, thank you.
But at the same time,
that's the word I was trying to think of earlier.
But speaking of that, if grizzly bears are going to expand their territory, you need to be particularly careful. And this is from the legit Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. Yeah. Be careful when shed hunting.
Yeah,
and it's the race is on, man. It's like. There's like an actual starting gun, it looks like. Like, if this is a legit picture, these folks are like, we heard the gun. It's time to get out there and get some sheds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
now, you can't retrieve sheds until a certain date, but
you can scout them.
You can scout them, and you can mark their location. I don't know. I think a lot of the shed hunting season has to do with what we talked about earlier. It's about pressuring those animals when they're at a sensitive time in their year, right? Really sensitive time because they don't have the new grass yet. They're still living off the old fat, their fat stores, and very limited resources. So you get in there and you start pushing them during those late winter months. It could damage the health of the herds.
Yeah. And Grizzly 399 back in the news.
Yeah.
Cub hazed on Friday after family breaks up. So hold on. Did a family, while they were out in the wilderness, get in a fight, and when some of the family members left, find 399 and try to haze the cubs because they were mad about their family situation?
Yeah, it was over Pop-Tarts.
It was over Pop-Tarts.
Funny.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. It's like the last thing you'd think.
I know. You would have thought this was about the bear.
The last Pop-Tart.
Anyway, that was really dumb. I shouldn't have gone there, but I did.
399 is an interesting bear because everybody knows her. She always has lots of cubs, and this year her cubs and her are separating.
Yeah,
which means maybe next year 399 could emerge with new cubs.
Wow,
next year or the year after. So it'll be fun to pay attention to what 399 is doing in Yellowstone. But right now her cubs are out. What do cubs do? They try to find their own way in the world.
Yeah.
Where do they find? Well, they found a bunch of people in garbage near, at places in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And they get hazed for it. They get chased out. They want to be taught the right response. And
We've
so
talked
they
about
chase
that
them
before.
On.
You have to keep loud, and you have to keep them afraid of man. Otherwise, they get just like the stories that keep showing up. Yeah. The bear was being fed on the lady's back porch. Now the lady's dead. So
and so we're gonna see a big increase with bear interactions. I think a very big increase with the number of people heading to outdoors and the really good growth we're seeing in the grizzly bear population.
So it makes me wonder how this might reflect in Washington, because we have record population growth with wolves.
Yeah, and
so when you're talking about the interaction of wolves and grizzly bear, I wonder if that would play
we saw tracking data of a grizzly bear that went from Flathead Valley in Montana all the way to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
All the way.
Which is spitting distance.
Right, pretty much.
To Washington.
It's
So grizzly bears are going into Washington too.
Yeah.
They're illegal to kill. It's not something you shoot, shovel, and shut up. Nobody can dig a hole that big. Not in the Rocky Mountains anyway.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to find them.
Besides that, somebody's going to see the necklace you're wearing of the paws.
Right.
And they're going to go, what's that? Is that legit?
No, got it at a tourist shop, believe it or not, in Texas. It's
They do everything bigger in Texas.
Oh yeah. These grizzly bears are going to be expanding. Wolves really are that keystone species that really help a lot of other things survive, and grizzly bears.
It's funny how it's the keystone species that's controversial,
right?
But I digress.
Well, it's hard to. I don't like using keystone species.
I know I probably shouldn't go that far.
No, you can because is it a keystone species? I think every species is a keystone species.
That's honestly where I feel.
So that's where I am. You pull a string on the web of life, and the whole web trembles.
Yeah,
that's how that works. And so we're seeing some of these strings come back into play and strengthen up the ecosystem.
Yeah. Over in Wyoming, I saw this earlier, but it didn't sink in until I just read it. It's 17-mile wide wildlife crossing. Is that what I said? 17-mile wildlife crossing project, rather, not 17 mile. Sorry, my brain totally misread it. I was thinking a 17-mile wide bridge. No. Just it's a corridor. We've talked about corridors where animals can cross. So basically, that's what they're facilitating in Wyoming with the 17-mile wide wildlife crossing. So
good.
Yeah, I think that'll be. I've probably been on that highway. That's probably in the southern part of.
I haven't spent enough time in Wyoming.
I drove across it one time in 2011, and I wanted to never go back because it was so boring.
Oh wow, I love Wyoming.
I like, northwestern Wyoming.
Yeah, all the mountains and stuff. There's a couple other really good mountain ranges in Wyoming. But they're few and far between.
I wanted to climb Mount Gannett one time, but you got to hire a guide for that, and it can be really tricky. Yeah. They say it's more challenging than say like some of the other peaks in the lower 48.
Yeah. I talked to Chris about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said it was a 2-day approach.
Yeah.
He said you had to hike for 2 days to get to the base.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a high pointer, right?
Chris
Anderson.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, he's a high pointer.
I know he's an avid outdoorsman.
Yeah, he's been to Bora a few times. He's the one that told me, "Hey, Bora is a SOB. It's a hard one."
Is it
on all those in the lower 48? Yes, he's done Gannett.
Okay,
but he's saying as far as Bora goes,
have to ask him.
You should. Bora's a tough one. He'll tell you. Okay.
Wow. So I've got 2 bullet points here. They're for the same thing. It says Mount Bora creatures that defy typical rat culture.
Yeah,
because it's a rodent.
It is,
but it's called a
pika.
Licious.
Chew.
Oh
no, it's just a pika or a pika. Pika. I think it's called a pika. But we saw one on Mount Bora, and it was between 11 and 12,000 feet. It might have been closer to 12,000 feet because we were way up there.
It was cool though because it was
very cool.
It kind of just hopped around and it let us kind of view it, and it was big, chubby, rat-looking thing.
He was fat. He was plenty fat.
It looked like a rat and a hamster.
We saw other creatures up there.
Yeah,
eating our.
There was a squirrel. M&Ms. There was a chipmunk up on the top.
Yeah,
I've got a picture of the chipmunk.
Fat chipmunk. A hiker gets to the top of Mount Bora. They're happy. Here's some food.
So we have 2 things left though. So don't backpack when you hunt, and then I have
5 reasons you shouldn't backpack when you hunt,
which is something we've talked about. Because we're going back to our roots in terms of what we did in 2011. I believe it was 2011. We're going to backpack this August, which I'm looking forward to. Anyway, but
I killed my elk in 2009. You and I went in 2010, the very next year.
I meant to say that.
So, but we've had many adventures there, and we're going back there again this year.
Yeah.
What was the topic?
5 reasons why you shouldn't backpack.
5 reasons. Number 1, it's hard. It's really hard. It's a lot of hard work.
When I went up with you in 2010, that first day kicked my butt so hard, and I talked about this. I saw the Grim Reaper. My brain and body was dehydrated. I didn't eat enough food. I didn't drink enough water.
Dehydration and hypothermia.
I was getting hypothermic trying to fill up my water bottle. We had separate tent. It's just We always have separate tents, but but it was
Unless we got the
challenging.
heater.
but it's I've come a long way in my backpacking approach, and I think differently. But I think we're doing it much more successfully. But it is hard. It's a lot of work. What's number 2?
I don't know.
And what's number 3?
I don't know. I don't know. Then 4, we're running out of time. We're over an hour, so we're fine. I can look them up for next
I've got
week.
one last thing for you.
But as soon as I started reading the article, I'm like, yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. Don't skip leg day.
So I got one last thing, and this has to do with elk. Actually has to do with elk.
Elk.
So you and I talked early on about elk bugles, and I'm like, I want to update my elk bugle, and I was like, okay, and so they have these shorter ones I've seen in all the Elk 101 videos with all those good folks.
Yeah,
seems like
Corey Jacobson and Donnie,
it seems like everybody had the same one. So I've gone out to look for them, and it's like it's not that I can't afford $40. Yeah. I've spent $40 on
much dumber stuff,
on booze. So
I'm not saying that's dumber. Whoa,
hold on. Anyway, so I'm like, I want to buy one of these things, and you said, well, just get one of those little wiffle ball things. They're the same.
Have you seen those guys? They'll go on TikTok. You go on TikTok or on Facebook or YouTube, and you see these guys get a wiffle ball bat and like cut the ends off of it and make it into a bugle.
I haven't seen that, but you know what?
Yeah? Oh, you got one.
Challenge accepted. And you know, let
adorable.
me point out some things that are really nice about the features of this future elk bugle. It's got a nice perforated soft hand, so when you're holding it up,
can you say ergonomically designed?
Yeah. It's got green and yellow, which according to my understanding with elk visual anatomy, this is the kind of colors you want.
Practically invisible.
The ball, more or less when you're, winding down for nap time.
Just stress relief.
So, but I've had some ideas. I'm gonna see what we can do.
Yeah, you could totally cut the end off of that. That doesn't look much unlike the exact piece of plastic I bought for $40.
Yeah. So I honestly, I'm curious to see if I can manufacture this. I've got a heat gun, so I'm gonna see if I can mold this around so it's nice on the lips. I'll cut this end off here and see if we can't get something out of this. And if it makes a relevant sound, maybe my first elk comes at a $3 wiffle ball.
There's no wrong way to bugle. There's no wrong way to bugle.
I disagree. Humbly.
I have seen... I have heard bugles. I know I've told you before. You and I were working a group of elk. When I heard a bugle, I was so sure it was a dude. I dropped my bow. I dropped my pack. And I'm like, F this. This sucks. Why are stupid people here? And you know what? It was elk.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no wrong way to bugle.
Yeah, you were just upset because you wanted to take a nap.
I'm
just kidding.
It was my nap time. Why are there elk here?
Anyway, so that's it for today, I think.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. Follow us. We'll get that bugle.
I'll follow up. We'll see what happens.
Things happening in our future. We're definitely going to do some outdoor stuff
someday.
It's cold and crappy and windy today, but we got plans to go fishing. We got plans to go shed hunting. We got plans to go place cameras a couple times. I got plans. And it's only 103 days till elk season, man.
103.
The next time we talk, it's going to be less than 100.
Wow.
So I'm excited. I'm going to call Jared. I'm going to call Jared. Yep. I'm going to film that call when I call him. Just when we get down to 100 days.
All right.
So anyways, be looking forward to that. That's all we have. Thanks everybody for
Cheers.
listening, and we'll see you next week.
Be well. Stay awesome.